We're going to download the Windows version of MAMP, and when I went to mamp.info on Windows, I'm in Chrome, and I'm also working on Windows 7. It comes right up to the Windows version, and notice it's 3.22. It's not the 4.1 on Mac, but again, you're not going to really see any difference, so I'm going to download it right now. And this looks like it's around 290 megabytes, so I'll pause the recording, and then I'll come back and do the install. Okay, my MAMP is downloaded, and there it is right there on Windows. And I did uninstall any versions that I had previously, so this will be a fresh install. So I'll just click on it right down here in the in my browser, and it should be a pretty easy install from what I remember. And it's just putting it here right on my C drive. You could put it in your applications if you want. If you wanted to go into your C drive and put it into program files, you could do that as well, or you could just leave it right in you could just leave it in the C drive. That's what I'm going to do. I'll just leave it where it's going to go by default. And there's my MAMP and MAMP Pro. If I go into MAMP, one thing just to point out is that there's this htdocs folder is where we may be putting files and folders and things like that in there. That's kind of like our home directory, the htdocs. And again, you can change that, but we'll leave it default for now. So I just wanted to point that out. And we can launch MAMP. So we'll get it started. And I have MAMP here in my start menu, and I can also put it on my taskbar. So I'll put it down here on my taskbar so I can launch it from there. And I'll launch MAMP and see what happens, see if I see anything different than the Mac version. And at the beginning here, it looks like it's trying to boot up these servers here. And what I'm going to do here, I'll just go to Preferences and Start Servers when starting. I actually like starting up the servers manually, but I will put them so they stop when we quit. So that's the way it usually comes up by default. And as far as ports, by default it's on 80 and 3306, just like I had put on the Mac. The Mac one isn't that way by default. It uses that 8888, but I'll try to keep it consistent and try to keep it consistent with Windows, and we'll see how that works. But anyway, you shouldn't have to do anything there. So if you're on Windows, leave it on these ports. PHP, you shouldn't have to do anything different. And this is just saying where the home directory is, which is htdocs by default. And you can change that, but we'll leave it that way for now. And we shouldn't have to do anything else. So we see our servers are started here, and we'll open our start page. One thing just to point out with the start page that's just a little different than the Mac version is it doesn't have a My Website button here for some reason. It goes to the main directory. You just have to go to localhost. But it will just be localhost, and then any folder name that you create in that htdocs will be here. But right now it's just going to MAMP. And this is also down here. There's a link for Phpmyadmin. And if you click on that, it'll open up Phpmyadmin. And there it is. And it comes default in this PMA home. PMA hom, or I don't know where that name comes from. But the original, we'll use this version. And you can make the font size a little bit bigger. We'll make things a little bit bigger when we work in here, and this is what you'll see. Now this one has one called Test, which we didn't see on the Mac version, but that's okay. This is all default kind of stuff. These aren't databases that we created. We're going to be creating databases, and they're going to show up here, but for right now, that's all you need. So once you get in here, this is where we're going to be working in this application. It's like a web-based application called Phpmyadmin, and even though it's called PHP, we're not doing PHP here. We're actually going to be working with our MySQL databases. As you can see, databases, SQL, import, export, we're going to learn to do all that right in here, and then eventually we'll be using PHP to kind of communicate with databases through web pages. So we'll be doing some of that. But anyway, this is the first part. This helps us work with these server-based database systems without having to put it up on a server.